high gold. Terran versus Zerg, and as I said, guys, that question was, what was it? It was expanding. I'm unsure on my opener and when I have the safe ability to expand or to push. So what we want to help Shadow Reaper with, guys, is give Shadow Reaper a little bit more of a plan with the opening. Okay. Guys, I do want a lot more questions with specifics. Now, the #1 questions I get asked in chat is how do I stop a tank push? How do I stop a Baneling bust? How do I stop a Roach push? I want you guys to find replays of you losing to that stuff and send them to me. Because too many people are just going to be asking, oh, I'm unsure of my opening, and I'm going to be answering the same way over and over as we go through today. So I want you guys to give me more specific replays if possible. I'm really happy that everyone's submitting replays, but I'm going to push this constantly throughout the day where I'm like, please give me those specific replays because that gets me a little bit excited. So to start off, we've got a nice early SCV scout, very safe opening from Shadow Reaper. Oh, he just killed his own drone! Draxos just A-moved his own drones to try to kill the SCV and he accidentally clicked on his own drone. So Shadow Reaper's even gonna check the third and then end up down there. Now, I love someone who queues up their SCV and isn't wasting APM on it. But this should have been queued home as well, okay? That should have actually been queued home, because otherwise you're gonna have to come back and look at it. So back at home, we got a nice fast command center coming down, and then a second barracks and a reactor after the Reaper. So I think this reactor could have been a few seconds earlier, but overall it looks like just a 2-1-1 build. Very solid opening. It's good if you want to work on your drops. Now, here we see a bunker. There's no reason for a bunker here, because we've SCV scouted and we've seen it's a hatchery first opening. So this is a very normal opening. Now, this Reaper is on a control group, but it wasn't attack moved, which is a big mistake because we've just let 4 Zerglings walk past. And that Reaper already was on a very weird path. So this Reaper, what was the command given to this Reaper? He was literally just moved there and then moved into the main. As soon as your Reaper pops out, you should box it, control group it, which he's done very well, and then attack move it to outside your opponent's base. But he actually just lets these Zerglings walk past. Not only that, this bunker, unnecessary. So guys, when does Zergling speed finish? 3 minutes 30 off a hatchery first, which means you could build this bunker at 3 minutes 10 and you'd still be entirely safe. Not just that, but generally with a 2-1-1, you don't always need a bunker, but the bunker does add some safety. So I'm going to say you're playing in Gold League. I like the bunker. Let's delay it though. Let's drop down the bunker at about 3 minutes 20, somewhere around there. Very rarely are they going to hit you right when Link Speed finishes. If they did, it would be a pretty half-baked push, and your Reaper should get an idea of that before it comes. So let's delay that, and what we're missing is the factory and the second gas, which is meant to have already come down with a 2-1-1 build. So because those aren't down yet, and because the reactor was a little bit late and hasn't started marine production straight away, notice the reactor's finished and we haven't started marines. This Reaper's scouting like crazy. Now, a lot of people will encourage you to scout when you're playing StarCraft, whether you're a newer player or more experienced, like scout, scout, scout. That's what you do. You gotta keep scouting, just keep scouting, just keep scouting. So I think it's really good to get map control and have some vision and to scout sometimes. What I see a lot is games like this though, where the player scouts literally everything with the SCV, but doesn't respond to that scouting at all. Scouts literally everything with the Reaper, but at the cost of not focusing the APM on at home and just doing the build. And what I want to focus people on is it's great to do these moves, but they should only be prioritized in between your spending, right? In between your at-home actions, right? You shouldn't be wasting APM on this unless you really are looking for something specific. And this early on, there's nothing you have to worry about against a hatchery first build. There's nothing. So what you can do instead is you can say, you know what? Normally the Reaper comes in, just pokes around, goes straight out. Or sometimes doesn't even poke in. A lot of players don't even do that in Diamond League. They just leave their Reaper outside. And then you can say, okay, at 3 minutes 20, I try to sacrifice the Reaper in and check that he's been building plenty of drones. And if there's no drones on his natural, I'm worried about an all-in. If there's lots of drones there, I'm fine. I'm relaxed. I'm happy. And that way you've got like one specific timing. Instead, Shadow Reaper's factory and second gas is really delayed. The stim still hasn't started, and the Marines haven't been building consistently. These Zerglings distracted on top of focusing on the Reaper too much, and this has just thrown off the opening. Now, getting a tight opening now that's consistent with Terran is so big, guys. It makes such a big difference, and it really helps you out. But because of these distractions, I feel like Shadow Reaper here is definitely very far behind where you'd want to be. It's now going for an engineering bay, but at this point we'd already be wanting to be building medevacs. And you notice these barracks aren't consistently producing here either. And then we're going for very fast double gas on the natural, which is okay, but it basically locks you into a 2-base play because you're going so much gas rather than minerals that you're not going to be able to get a third command center ever. We also see a few too many SCVs in the main. It's not too bad to sit on 17 or 18. It's not the end of the world to be. That's actually okay. But the main thing is there hasn't been constant SCV production either, so the SCV count's not as high as it could be. We often see only one SCV in that production tab, and we actually saw a Viking come out first. The whole point of this opening is you really need to go double medevacs. If you want to build a Viking after that, that's fine, but you should always be pushing out with 2 medevacs and stim to do a nice drop. In this case, we're kind of going into siege tanks now, we're going into more medevacs, but it's kind of a mix of builds which isn't as tight as we want us to be. If you go for this sort of opening, it's all about hitting this drop. And the best way to benchmark it is, have I done a good job, is this should be hitting at pro level at 5 minutes 20, the double drop, okay? 6 minutes 30, so we can say, okay, you're in Gold League, maybe you're not gonna hit that timing, but maybe we can aim for 6 minutes. 2 drops hitting at 6 minutes. And then you can steadily level that up until you're hitting 5 minutes 40, 5 minutes 30, getting closer and closer to pro execution, at least in a clean game where your opponent doesn't really pressure you, right? And that's gonna put so much pressure on your opponent. Behind this, we've got Marauders, Marines, tanks. What we are missing is extra barracks. Since I said we're locked into a 2-base play, we should be really committing to a big 2-base all-in. So there should be 3 more barracks going down, probably all with reactors, to round out the 5 barracks, 1 factory, 1 starport production, which is full 2-base economy Terran production. So let's see how long he takes to do that. These Marines actually get epic damage. Imagine if that was a double drop, he would have killed even more. So he's going to boost out of there, and he's not building anything at home. There we go. He's starting up production again. Where are those extra barracks? And where are those supply depots? So here we see a mistake. We see a second engineering bay and an armory. Now these are what you do in a big macro game. We see extra barracks going down now as well, which is great. But the engineering bay, the double upgrades, that's something which really only takes priority after you're going for a 3rd base. When you're on 2 bases, you don't need double upgrades, and we really should be thinking about just committing to a big push in the near future as soon as possible. But instead, now we're going for this very delayed 3rd command center, which is, it would have been okay if we already had the barracks up and producing. Like, we're moving out with the push, which is key, but this push needs to get over there ASAP, and we're dawdling. We're taking so long to get this push in position. We took the longest route. We didn't... And now we've kind of moved in, and our siege tanks have all been caught. So this attack here, I think, could have had a lot more units if we built those barracks, could have hit a lot harder. But instead, now that that's been held, ooh, actually, wow, Marauders are pretty good, hey. Alright, if we can get some economic damage down when we're still in this game, let's fast forward. Let's turn the game sound down just a little bit more, by the way. So when I fast forward it goes crazy loud, doesn't it? And then he kind of does eventually get held. Doesn't really kill many drones there, though. So I mean, this game could go on and be close, but definitely in terms of like the opening and the commitments and what the game plan is, it's not very clear what's going on. So I think that's the main points. Go for the double drop. If you want a Viking added in later, if you don't want to go if you want to go fast 3rd, only take a 3rd gas. Don't take a 4th gas until later. And go for the 3rd command center, then go the 2nd engineering bay and the armory, and then the extra barracks. If you want to instead go for the gases, you want to go both gases, get 5 barracks up, pump out a ton of Marines, tanks, medevacs, and go for the big push. And only when you're pushing across the map do you drop the 3rd command center, the extra engineering bay, and the armory. So have that differentiation between I'm doing a huge 2-base push and I'm doing a huge macro play. And that differentiation is going to allow you to be much more pointed with what you're trying to achieve in your games. Here we see another push with the siege tanks, unfortunately just get completely routed. And even though the upgrades are kind of nice, and we are doing kind of okay with some of these, like, you know, the Zerg got caught right out of position there, we're always losing our whole army and not really having the hugest economy behind it. We've actually, like, kind of caught up with a decent eco, but it's just a little bit sloppier and more disjointed than it should be. So GG is well played. Thanks for the replay, Shadow Reaper. I hope that helps you out, dude. you win this game. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing, right? You can win even at GM. You can make a lot of mistakes. You can be very unsure, and you can absolutely come back into a game. But that's the sort of game where if you were like decisive with that push, I think you just kill him with a 2-base Marine Marauder tank push. You're just like, no, you're dead now. Your double drop would have done more damage. The 2-base push would have killed him. It would have been beautiful, dude. If you're doing a 2-base push with 5 barracks as Terran, what's a good time to move out? Totally depends on your opening drone and how many units you want to move out with. I wouldn't give a set timing. Kind of depends on what you're up to and what you're trying to do in your play. So I had a replay Luca Terran versus Sergeant Micropene. Who sent me that one, guys? Which one was that? And can you repost your question? We also had Jared versus Luicifers, which was a Protoss versus Protoss. A lot of Protoss replays being submitted today, which is cool. So we're going to do those two, and then we're going to go back to playing some games against our viewers. How long should I wait until attacking with the 2-base push, says Drone? I mean, just when you want to just come up with your own sort of arbitrary plan. Maybe for you, it'll be like, all right, I've got stim, I've got combat shields, and I have 3 siege tanks and a good little ball of bio. But I don't think you need someone else to tell you that. I think one of the best things in StarCraft is to come up with your own choice. So what often happens with these streams is people start asking finer and finer questions in terms of, should I attack with 36 Marines or 40 Marines? And I'm like, that's not important at all. What's more important is if because every game is going to be different, right? Sometimes you do way more damage with your double drop, but you also lose all those units. And you lose both medevacs. So you're like, well, I've slowed him down a ton, but I've lost 2 medevacs and a lot of my Marines. So now, even though I've got 3 siege tanks, I don't feel like I've got enough bio. I'm going to wait for another production round and get out another 10 Marines or something before I push, because I want there to be enough tanking stuff for my siege tanks. I want enough support, right? So like, there's all sorts of adjustments that you're gonna make based on the game. Or sometimes you're like, I did heaps of damage, but I messed up my macro really bad at home. So like, I really want to wait for a second siege tank before I go for this push. So you want to just base those decisions on your own intuition and understanding. And the thing is, what I really encourage is there's no such thing as like this is the push. This is the way you do it. The 4th siege tank is so important. It's never, no. It depends on the push position, how prepared they are, how you set up the push on the map. There's too many variables. There's no like magic count for when you should push. It's just as long as you're kind of spending your money efficiently towards a pointed goal, which is I'm putting everything towards producing as much as I can for a big 2-base push. I've got most of my upgrades ready. I've got most of the pieces kind of together. Let's go execute it. That's what's more important.